Letter 5. Portsmouth, October 23, 1795. No tidings of the Ulysses. 4 long days have passed since my arrival at this place, and I am still left in anxious uncertainty respecting my baggage and my passage. My colleagues, Doctors Master and Henderson, have again joined me, and, like myself, have passed 4 heavy days of suspense, with only the prospect of extending it to 14 more. Being sadly tired of a Portsmouth inn, and seeing no likelihood of embarking soon, we have taken private lodgings in hopes of passing our tedious hours of waiting more quietly. Portsmouth verifies, in our experience, all that we had heard of its unpleasantness and vulgar immorality. The great objects which call forth the attention of strangers are the dockyard, the Hassler Hospital, and the fine walk upon the ramparts. All these we have visited, likewise Southdown Castle, and the Fortin and Portchester prisons, nor have we neglected that new modern messenger, the telegraph, by which intelligence can be conveyed from this place to the Admiralty at Charing Cross in the short period of 10 minutes. Having thus exhausted all the novelty of the town and its environs, it only remains for us to lapse into the dull routine of the place. It is said that in days of peace long grass grows upon the streets. In time of war they are more trodden, but even then the busy activity of the port occurs only at intervals, as when a fleet comes in or is about to sail. During these periods the town becomes all crowd and hurry for a few days, and then suddenly reverts to a languid intermission of dullness and inactivity. The rent of houses and apartments, the price of provisions, and sea differs very much in times of peace and war. Indeed, we are told that the lodgings have their war price and peace price distinctly fixed. Viewing its present extravagance, if Portsmouth should be proportionally cheap in time of peace as it is dear in war, it might serve as a place of retirement for our prodigals and render unnecessary their tours of retrenchment to the mountains of Wales or Switzerland. And perhaps there are few places that might sooner bring them to sober reflection, for it is lifeless and insipid as the most forlorn might desire, and seems well calculated to temper the mind into the gloomy sedateness of penitence. The following anecdote, said to be of recent occurrence, will exemplify what may be termed the war extravagance of Portsmouth. A gentleman, who had been ill, called on his way to Southampton to dine at one of the inns. Having but a weak appetite, he ordered only a veal cutlet with a pint of wine, for which he was charged 18 shillings. Conceiving there must be some error, he desired to speak with the landlord, who, instead of conducting himself with civility, doubled the offence by his insolence. Upon the gentleman pointing out the supposed mistake, the landlord looked at the bill and immediately replied, "Yes, sir, there is a mistake, I perceive." He then took the account into the bar, as the gentleman expected, to make the necessary deductions, but, to his surprise, the waiter quickly returned with it increased from 18 to 19 shillings. The gentleman, enraged both at the imposition and the manner of it, again called for the landlord and informed him that, if he still insisted on his enormous charge, he would publish it in the newspapers and set such a mark on his house as should make it notorious throughout London and the country. The impertinent host, persisting in his demand, drily replied, "And when you have made it so well known, sir, will you be so good as to add, N.B. the house to let?" There was no contending with such insolence. The man had made his fortune, and it was in vain to attempt teaching him civility or common honesty. The gentleman therefore paid the bill and left the house, lamenting that his only remedy was to avoid it in future. In respect to streets, houses, markets, and traffic, Portsmouth is not unlike other country towns, but Portsmouth Point, Portsea Common, and some other parts of the town have peculiarities which seem to sanction the character the place has acquired. In some quarters it is not only filthy and crowded, but crowded with a class of low and abandoned beings who seem to have declared open war against every habit of common decency and decorum. You know the strong desire I have to contemplate human nature under all her varied forms, but those she here assumes are, I am sorry to say, uncommonly hideous and disgusting. The riotous, drunken, and immoral scenes of this place perhaps exceed all others. Commonly, gross obscenity and intoxication preserve enough diffidence to seek the concealment of night, but here hordes of profligate females are seen reeling in drunkenness or plying upon the streets in open day with a broad immodesty which puts the great orb of noon to the blush. These daughters of Cypria are not only peculiar in manners but likewise in figure and apparel. To form an idea of these tender languishing nymphs, these ornaments of the fair sex, imagine something of more than Amazonian stature, a crimson countenance emblazoned with Cyprian effrontery and bacchanalian folly, cheeks wounded, brows scarred and battered, and eyes blackened with balls of red, arms brawny enough to encounter a colossus, ankles like the fixed supporters of a gate. Then add a loose flying cap, a man's black hat, torn neckerchief, stone rings, dirty white or gaudy flowered gown, short apron, and a pink petticoat, and you will have something very like a Portsmouth Pole. Callous to every sense of shame, they reel about the streets, lie in wait at the corners, or, like kites, hover over every landing place eager to pounce upon their prey. Each unhappy tar who falls under their talons has no hope of escape until plucked of every feather. The instant he sets foot on land he is embraced by the neck or dragged away to some bagnio or filthy pothouse, where he is kept drinking, smoking, dancing, swearing, and rioting until every farthing is gone. He then sleeps until sober and returns penniless to his ship, fortunate if an empty pocket is the worst consequence. My visit to the dockyard was highly gratifying. I contemplated this vast depot of stores, the great workshop of our navy, as an emblem of our nation's glory. No part escaped my eye. I regarded each tool with the veneration of a Briton proud of his country's greatness. The Tigre, a ship of war lately taken from the French by Lord Bridport, being in dock, we went on board to witness the injuries she had sustained. Her shattered condition bespoke the terrible effects of a close-fought action. Yet we were told that what she suffered was trivial compared to what is seen in many vessels after battle. While examining the wounds of the Tigre, my mind recalled the noble retreat made by our gallant Admiral Cornwallis, which I have always thought did him high credit. Conducted as it was, it had all the merit of a great victory. To defend an inferior fleet against such unequal force and to bring every ship safe into port argues intrepid deliberation and steady valor, such as belong only to a great commander. My visit to Haslar Hospital was equally impressive. Connected with our country's greatness, it called up similar ideas. It is an honor to England that so noble an institution should offer comfort to our brave tars in sickness. Too much cannot be done for them, for they are indeed a race of heroes. The Haslar is admirably suited as an asylum. The establishment is noble, liberal, and complete. The hospital stands in an open, airy situation near the sea, close to Gosport. The edifice, capable of receiving 2,000 patients, is enclosed within a high brick wall with iron gates and a porter's lodge. No stranger is admitted without leave of a resident officer. It contains apartments even for sick and wounded officers, who may avail themselves of its care and comforts. Built with completeness and liberality, it does honor to the reign of George II, its founder. The establishment consists of a governor, usually an old navy captain, 3 lieutenants, 3 physicians, 3 surgeons, 2 visiting apothecaries, a chaplain, an agent, a steward, and a dispenser, with servants in proportion to the sick. It conveniently accommodates 1,800 patients but sometimes receives as many as 2,000. Founded in 1746, completed in 1756, its expenditure varies from £10,000 to upward of £30,000 per annum. A plan has lately been formed for establishing a military hospital in this neighborhood. May it prove equally useful to our army as the Haslar to our navy. Dr. Lind, senior physician at the Haslar, kindly offered his services as our guide. Few men could be found so well suited to his situation. He communicated much useful information respecting the internal economy of hospitals, from which we collected many hints for future service.